everybody, and welcome to another ASMR video here on the channel. I'm just looking in the viewfinder. I think this t-shirt is very creased. I kind of just threw it on without thinking, so apologies if my appearance is lackluster. But anyways guys, hope you're all doing really well tonight. We're cracking on with some more conspiracy theories, and we're continuing our kind of theme, I guess, at the minute, of picking a specific category of conspiracy theory and then kind of lightly diving into multiple within that category. I believe the last one we did was space. And in tonight's video we're going to be looking at conspiracy theories to do with the Earth. Is it flat? Is it hollow? Is Atlantis real? We're going to be jumping into plenty this evening. They'll all be time-stamped, fingers crossed, in the description, so if you do fall asleep you can find your way back to where you got to. So I really hope you enjoy this video, and let's get started. So we're going to begin with hollow Earth. The hollow Earth is a concept proposing that the planet Earth is entirely hollow or contains a substantial interior space, notably suggested by Edmund Halley in the late 17th century. The notion was disproven, first tentatively by Pierre Bouguer in 1740, then definitively by Charles Hutton in his Schehallien experiment around 1774. It was still occasionally defended through the mid-19th century, notably by John Cleves, but by this time it was part of popular pseudoscience and no longer a scientifically viable hypothesis. The concept of a hollow Earth still recurs in folklore and as a premise for subterranean fiction, a subgenre of adventure fiction. Hollow Earth also recurs in conspiracy theories such as the underground kingdom of Agartha and the crypto-terrestrial hypothesis, and is often said to be inhabited by mythological figures or political leaders. So Agartha is a legendary kingdom that is said to be located on the inner surface of the Earth. Though the exact story varies, as there are many different versions, it is usually said to be located in Central Asia and led by a powerful figure or group of figures who rule the kingdom. It is related to the belief in a hollow Earth and has been a popular subject in the New Age since the late 19th century. The term and concept dates to the 1870s, first introduced by the French writer and colonial official Louis Jacques-Oliot in his 1873 book Le Fil de Dieu. Jacques-Oliot claimed that he had been given access to ancient 15,000-year-old Indian manuscripts which told of the ancient city of Asgartha, its rise and its fall. The original idea did not involve an underground kingdom, but was said to be India's destroyed former capital city, and is closer to Norse mythology than Indian mythology in content. Jacques-Oliot's book was popular in France, and the idea of Agartha spread. The concept was afterwards expanded upon by a variety of occultist writers, including Alexandre Saint-Yves de Alvitoy. Saint-Yves wrote on it in his book Mission de l'Inde. It's too much French for me in this. In Europe, which portrayed Agartha as still existing existing within the Earth where one could travel through astral projection. The idea was popularized by Ferdinand Ossendowski's 1922 book, Beasts, Men and Gods, which was heavily influenced by St. Eve's version and became the standard version of Agatha's myth. Some interpretations involve Nordicism or Arianism. A derived belief is that the Grand Lodge of Agatha, a concept in theosophy and related movements, where a group of ascended masters who secretly control the world are said to reside in Agatha. For unclear reasons, it is frequently associated or confused with the Buddhist mythical kingdom Shambhala, alternatively seen as a rival power, with either Agatha as the good to Shambhala's evil, or both of evil. And just looping back now to 20th century Hollow Earth beliefs. Nequa, or the Problem of the Ages, first published in serialization in Topeka, Kansas newspaper in 1900, is considered an early feminist utopian novel. It mentions John Cleves Sims's theory to explain its setting in a hollow earth. An early 20th century proponent of hollow earth, William Reed, wrote Phantom of the Poles in 1906. He supported the idea of a hollow earth but without interior shells or the inner sun. The spiritualist writer Wahlberger, Lady Baguette, in her book Colloquies with an Unseen Friend, was an early writer to mention the hollow earth hypothesis. She claimed that cities exist beneath a desert, which is where the people of Atlantis moved. She said an entrance to the subterranean kingdom will be discovered in the 21st century. Marshall Gardner wrote A Journey to the Earth's Interior in 1913 and published an expanded edition in 1920. He placed an interior sun in the Earth and built a working model of the hollow Earth, which he patented. Gardner made no mention of Reed, but did criticize Sims for his ideas. Around the same time, Vladimir Obruchev wrote a novel called Plutonia, in which the hollow Earth possessed an inner sun and was inhabited by prehistoric species. The interior was connected with the surface by an opening in the Arctic. The explorer Ferdinand Ossendowski discussed hollow earth in his 1922 book. He said he was told about a subterranean kingdom located inside the earth, and Buddhists knew it as Agatha. George Papashvili, in his Anything Can Happen in 1940, claimed when he was in the Caucasus Mountains, he discovered a cavern containing human skeletons with heads as big as bushel baskets, and an ancient tunnel leading to the center of the earth. One man entered the tunnel and never returned. I mean, it's just not hollow, is it? Like you guys will know by now, I don't like spending these videos just necessarily outright disproving the theories because we know they're not real. Where's the fun in that? No. We want to read the wackiness, but let's face it, it's not hollow, as much as I loved that movie with Brendan Fraser in, and it would be cool if it was real. Next up, we have 6 prevailing theories on the Bermuda Triangle. In the last century, numerous ships, small boats and aircraft have purportedly vanished within the infamous Bermuda Triangle, or as some call it, the Christopher Columbus's voyages, he had logged about bizarre compass bearings in the area. The region got its name when Vincent Gaddis coined the term Bermuda Triangle in a cover story for Argosy magazine about the disappearance of Flight 19. While the area is one of the world's most heavily travelled shipping lanes, many theorists have tried to explain the unusual disappearances at its borders. Here are 6. Number 1 is it's a time vortex. Albert Einstein postulated that a curvature of space would cause even light to bend through it. Some theorists believe that time as a force of nature can also get warped based on your location. The Bermuda Triangle is one location on Earth where the fabric of time is so thin that travellers can slip through it and emerge on the other side of a completely different time. The theory was solidified in 1970 when Floridian pilot Brew Gernon Jr., his father and friend Chuck Lafayette were flying toward Bimini Island in the Bahamas and noticed a strange elliptical cloud, which he later called electric fog, hovering only about 500 feet above the ocean. Here is an excerpt of his story. Upon entering the cloud, we witnessed an uncanny spectacle. It became dark and black without rain, and visibility was about 4 or 5 miles. There were no lightning bolts, only extraordinarily bright white flashes that would illuminate the entire surrounding area. The deeper we penetrated, the more intense the flashes became, so we made a 135-degree turn to the left and headed due south of the cloud. The remarkable thing is that we did not come out of the storm 90 miles away from Miami as we should have. We had travelled through 100 miles of space and 30 minutes of time in a little more than 3 minutes. Theory number 2 is aliens. The existence of a mysterious third dimension created by unknown beings has been speculated by some Bermuda Triangle theorists. UFO enthusiasts argue that the triangle is a star gate that extraterrestrials use for intergalactic travel. Many believe that Flight 19 may have been swept into this UFO portal. The weather that day was clear and the flight was supervised by an experienced pilot. All of a sudden, Taylor made a radio call saying, "We are entering white water. Nothing seems right. We don't know where we are. The water is green, not white." It was also said that the Navy Board of Inquiry stated the planes flew off to Mars. Number 3, and this is a short one. Some Christians consider the Bermuda Triangle is a gateway to hell. Just let that one sit. Number 4, the lost city of Atlantis. Some believe that the mythical lost continent of Atlantis once lay deep beneath the Bermuda Triangle. An American psychic named Edgar Cayce claimed to be able to channel answers to questions about Atlantis, and documented many readings about the lost city between 1924 and 1944. He said that the Bahamas banks were the last part of Atlantis to sink. In one of his transcendental readings, He also mentioned an island, Bimini. Here lay a trail of energy crystals once used to fuel the city. These electromagnetic forces were said to be able to cause interference with airplane and ship electronic systems, causing them to vanish. In 1968, scuba diver J. Manson Valentine, a proponent of the Atlantis theory, discovered a series of laid stones at the bottom of the ocean that appeared to form a road, thus proving the existence of Atlantis. If only he could have taken a picture. Theory number 5 is ocean flatulence. Long ago, a freighter ship carrying thousands of barrels of beans and lentils spilled deep into the ocean floor of the Bermuda Triangle, causing the area to have a permanent case of gas, every so often unleashing its smelly odours onto unfortunate ships and airplanes that came near it. However, it has been proven that there are pockets of methane gas, known as methane gas hydrates, beneath the ocean floor that could erupt if there is too much internal pressure, or in the event of an underwater landslide or seismic wave. Some theories have suggested that these pockets of trapped methane gas exist deep beneath the surface of the Bermuda Triangle. Periodic methane eruptions have caused this area to expel great quantities of trapped methane, causing ships to lose their buoyancy and sink. If enough of the flammable gas bubbled to the surface and travelled high in the air, it could potentially stall an airplane engine or even be ignited by an engine's spark. And then number 6, we have a comet. The Bermuda Triangle region is one of the 2 places on Earth, the other being the Devil's Sea off the coast of Japan, which has a similar mystery attached to it, where true north and magnetic north line up, which could result in questionable compass readings. Some theorists believe that 11,000 years ago, a comet crashed Earth and landed on the ocean floor of the Bermuda Triangle, believing that this comet may have strange electromagnetic properties. It could disrupt compasses and other navigational tools. Our next theory is one I wasn't actually familiar with before this video. We have the mysteries of Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta. From alien visitors to underground advanced civilizations. If you can imagine it, someone has probably encountered it on the slopes of this beautiful Californian mountain. Have you heard of Mount Shasta, the breathtakingly beautiful mountain in Northern California? If not, we're willing to bet you've heard of at least one of the many oddities associated with it. For anyone with a fascination for the weird, wonderful and barely rational, this site is a cornucopia of fantasy. It has UFOs, cults, long-lost civilizations, strange otherworldly beings, and disappearances. So what on earth is going on at Mount Shasta? Well, aside from some amazing geology and outlandish imaginings, not a lot. So why is Mount Shasta so special? Mount Shasta is a stratovolcano, or composite volcano, that reaches the soaring height of 4,322 meters. Like other volcanoes of this type, it has a more classic conical shape, which is formed by 4 distinct overlapping volcanic cones. This This makes it a striking and easily visible landmark, which, complete with its snow-capped faces, is the ideal site for mountaineers, hikers, campers and skiers alike. But it has also been the travel destination for more spiritually minded visitors who seek a less than conventional holiday. Every year thousands of people descend on the mountain with the hope of communing with something beyond the terrestrial and geological. There are tourist guides and attractions dedicated to meditations, vision quests and other New Age activities that try to tap into the mountain's various alleged spiritual hotspots. There are numerous bookshops offering the full range of metaphysical texts on healing, vibrations, crystals, angels, and so on, many of which claim to have connections to the mountain itself. So where does this idea come from? Although there are various modern conspiracies associated with Mount Shasta, it has long been a sacred site to various indigenous tribes. As is often the case with other historically significant spiritual locations, these local traditional stories are often eclipsed or even appropriated by modern fantasies, as New Age believers race to become gurus of higher consciousness. But the fact remains that these indigenous people have a long established claim on the mountain and its own history. Artifacts found in the area suggest that humans have been living in the area for at least 9,000 years, which makes it one of the longest occupied areas in the country. The tribes who live around the mountain today include the Shasta, Windu, Achamawi, Atsugui, Moduk, and Klamath people. According to their traditional stories, the mountain is inhabited by various spirits and guardians. One of these is the spirit of Chief Skell, who is said to have descended onto the mountain top from heaven. During his conflicts with other primordial spirits from the underworld, Chief Skell caused various eruptions on the mountainside and its neighbours. Other prominent indigenous figures such as Kimokunk, I think is how you say that, are said to live on the mountain. According to the Moduk people, the bones of their long-dead ancestors were buried on the mountain. They also believe that a creature known as Mata Gagmi, brackets Bigfoot, inhabits and protects the surrounding woodlands. It is possible these ancient legends and their associated sacred spots inspired some contemporary beliefs about the mountain. However, it is likely that they merely highlighted a site where others could base their own homegrown fantasies. It's difficult to say, as some of the ideas circulating today exist in a world of their own. And that brings us on to the lost world of the Lemurians. One of the current stories about the Mount Shasta is that it is home to the underground and highly advanced city of Delos, the City of Light, which is inhabited by the Lemurians. These people are the descendants of human or humanoid beings who once lived on the lost continent of Lemuria. If you think the name Lemuria sounds like the word lemur, then you would be correct. According to an idea proposed in the 19th century, there was once been a large landmass that disappeared into water of the Indian Ocean. If it existed, this landmass would help explain why lemur fossils have been found in Madagascar and India, but nowhere else in Africa or the Middle East. For those who believe the Lemurians are now snuggled up under Mount Shasta, the sunken continent disappear below the Indian Ocean, but was instead lost in the Pacific thousands of years ago. Those who survived the catastrophe took up residence under the mountain, where they built their crystalline city. Ever since then, people have claimed to see Lemurians wandering around the area. They are apparently 7 feet tall, have long hair and wear white robes and sandals. Of course, they are also said to be psychic and have other superpowers that let them move through time and space. You may chuckle as you read this, but according to a government-funded study, 89% of visitors to the mountain on a self-identified pilgrimage came to worship or commune with the beings that lived under the mountain. Aside from being the home of long-lost civilizations, the mountain is also a hotspot for alien encounters. For instance, on February 12, 2020, Mount Shasta became the focus of international attention when people photographed an enormous UFO looming above its peak. On closer inspection, or just a passing glance really, the UFO turned out to be a lenticular cloud. Those clouds often form on mountainsides and can have particularly UFO-like shapes, depending on where you're standing. However, they remain a very earthly phenomenon and not a visitation from the other planet. But this is only a recent example. For decades, visitors to the mountain have reported various extraterrestrial experiences, sightings and encounters. It's also likely that the mountain was the birthplace of the first UFO religion, the I Am Activity cult, that appeared in the 1930s. To be sure, there are many more oddities and fantasies associated with Mount Shasta, too many to be given worthy time here. But the fact that it is a melting pot for so many different spiritual claims and conspiracy theories is not just a testament to the stunning spectacle of the mountain itself. It is also a demonstration of how New Ageism has few boundaries for its beliefs and will bundle everything together with little concern for authenticity, fact, or legitimacy. I mean, the mountain looks lovely. I'd very much like to go there and meet the aliens. Relatively quick one here, but I've got 8 unbelievable theories about Atlantis that people actually believed. Number 1. Survivors from Atlantis ended up in America. In 1530, an Italian physician named Girolamo Fracastoro, what a name, wrote an epic poem about syphilis. In this poem, he suggested that indigenous people in the Americas were descendants of the people who had survived the destruction of Atlantis. Number 2, Atlantis is really situated in Sweden, or maybe in Italy, or the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. A 17th century Swedish scholar named Olaus Rudbeck claimed that Atlantis could actually be found in Sweden based on a reading of Old Norse narrative poems. At the same time, the Italian Comte Gian Rinaldo Carli tried to prove that Atlantis was the ancestor of Italy, while other people believed it could be found in the Arctic, or perhaps in the Atlantic Ocean. Number 3, Atlantis once controlled a huge global around the world can be traced to the influence of Atlantis. It should be noted that some contemporaries nicknamed Donnelly the Wild Jackass of the Prairie. The fourth theory is that the people of Atlantis were the first real humans. At the same time as Donnelly, a woman known as Madame Blavatsky wrote a book called The Secret Doctrine, in which she claimed that people from Atlantis were the first human-looking race in world history. She also claimed they were giant, had electricity, and could fly. Number 5 is Atlanteans were actually German. In the 20th century, German archaeologist Albert Hermann claimed that the city of Atlantis was in what is now Tunisia, but that it had been a colony of Friesland, and so was German. This also allowed him to argue that Germans were an ancient and highly civilized people that predated other European cultures. Number 6. Atlantis was an Aryan civilization. This is where the Atlantis myth gets darker. Many Nazis, including Heinrich Himmler, promoted research into Atlantis, alongside research into the Aryan race. The head of his Ananebe Institute of Ancestral Heritage was a man named Hermann Wirth, who believed that Atlantis was a lost Nordic empire that lay in the North Atlantic. This research was part of a Nazi project that aimed to prove Aryan and Germanic supremacy through supposed links to ancient civilizations like Atlantis. Number 7 is Atlantis was powered by crystal energy. In the 1960s, a book was published full of stories about Atlantis. These came from the psychic or prophet Edgar Cayce, who claimed to go into trances where he could access his and other people's past lives, especially the lives they lived in Atlantis. In his version, Atlantis was a highly scientifically advanced civilization that ran on energy from crystals. And lastly, we have the city was destroyed by a huge volcano. The idea that the island of Santorini, or Thera, is the real Atlantis gained popularity in the 1960s. Excavations revealed that a society similar to the nearby Minoan civilization on Crete had been buried by a cataclysmic volcanic eruption in around 1500 BCE. Seems like a sensible theory, right? Sadly, the idea that Thera is Atlantis, or even that its destruction inspired Plato's story, has been seriously doubted and questioned by experts. It turns out that Atlantis really is just a myth. Here we go. Why the Earth is actually 100% flat. Rapper B.O.B. has caused a furore by tweeting that the Earth is in fact flat, and you only need to look at the evidence to come to the same conclusion. Obviously, prominent scientists have openly mocked this claim, showing the many ways in which it is ludicrous, no matter how many people insist otherwise. They're right though. Sadly, B.O.B. is wrong. His nonsense claims such as the idea that Earth's curvature should be visible at certain distances but isn't are just that, nonsense. His comments and insistent statements are little more than childish naivety, conspiracy goes much, much deeper than that. For example, the Earth really is flat, as in totally flat, like a sheet of glass. The definition of flat is having a level surface without raised areas or indentations. So how can you have tall buildings and mountains if the Earth is flat? You can't. It would be like saying a hedgehog is flat, which, barring an unfortunate encounter with a heavy goods vehicle, it clearly isn't. Some might take issue with this based on the flimsy evidence that they can see buildings, hills, trees, mountains and things like that everywhere, and may even be in or on them right now. This is just another example of how blinkered people are. If you look closely, the clues are everywhere. For instance, what's the tallest supposed mountain on Earth? Everest. Except it isn't. The name is a giveaway. It's clearly a morphing of never rest. Because if you wanted to go to the biggest mountain, you'd literally never rest. Because it isn't actually there. What about all those people who have climbed it, you say? Well, consider all the people who have died supposedly doing so. How do you die climbing something that isn't there? You can't. They were obviously killed to protect the conspiracy, whereas those who survived were willing to play ball. And if that isn't clear enough, pretty much everyone who attempts to climb Everest takes oxygen with them. Why would you do that when there's oxygen all around us, in the air? Wherever they're going, it isn't on Earth. You know where you do need oxygen though? The moon. That's where they're going. So-called mountaineers are being sent to the moon in order to fake climbing Everest. This is why NASA had to fake the moon landing with astronauts, because it was already full of mountaineers and they couldn't risk exposing that conspiracy. See how it all adds up. Some might still object, because they're currently sitting in a tall building. They're not though. They only think that they are. In truth, everyone is breathing in a potent mix of hallucinogens that are constantly in the air around us. And these cause us to perceive buildings and tall things where there are none. How do these hallucinogens get in the air? Well, that's what chemtrails are actually for. Don't worry, these hallucinogenic compounds aren't provided by evil big pharma. They're actually secreted by the shape-shifting lizards that rule society. Why do you think lizards are in charge in the first place? They provide the secretions that keep the population in line, believing in things like the Earth is round and buildings exist. The few times people have actually tried to make a tall building like the World Trade Center, it is destroyed by the government. Some refer to false flags at times like this. In truth, all flags are false. They're non-existent, tall structures, so are just figments of our collective imagination. This leads us on to other considerations though, like how thick is the Earth? It may be totally flat, but nobody said it's two-dimensional. It must have a thickness because we can go underground or underwater. Unlike mountains, the oceans are clearly real, because otherwise where did Atlantis go? The deepest part of the ocean we know about is the Mariana Trench, a full 7 miles down. This means the Earth is at least 7 miles thick, and probably a lot more so, because that's a lot of water on top of it, and it would need to be solid enough to keep it all in. But lest all of the seas leak out of the bottom of the world. This clearly isn't happening, even if you do ignore the nonsense that is rising sea levels due to global warming. How can you have global warming without a globe to warm? Hoisted by your own petard there, scientists. Maybe the world is as thick as it is wide, and is actually a cube. Scientists scoff at this notion, arguing that gravity would mean the atmosphere would be much thicker at the centre of each surface and nearly barren at the poles. But have you noticed how the atmosphere is much more humid at the so-called equator, yet the poles are practically lifeless? Coincidence? Obviously not. When you follow this train of logic, it becomes clear that the only feasible conclusion is that the Earth is indeed flat, flatter than anyone has ever expected. Either that or the human brain has a habit of looking for patterns in innocuous or coincidental occurrences, ascribing great significance to any connection it can find, and trying to make sense of them despite the absence of any concrete evidence. But seriously, that's a bit of a far-fetched claim, isn't it? And scene. That article was satire. I mean, I hope it's satire. I found it very funny. The incredibly worrying thing, though, is that there genuinely will be people out there who believe all of that and wouldn't see that as satire, but there we go. But for those of you who are wondering why some people believe the Earth is flat, number one, visual observation. The Earth looks flat. From ground level or even from high altitudes, the Earth appears flat to the naked eye, even though it doesn't. Horizon lines always appear flat and rise to eye level regardless of altitude. Okay. Number two, no sensation of motion. If the Earth is spinning at 1,670 kilometers per hour and orbiting the Sun at 107,000 kilometers an hour, why don't we feel it? They believe such motion would produce noticeable effects, e.g. wind, dizziness. Cool. They argue there's no motion, we must be stationary. 3. Water's surface is always level. Water finds its level. Oceans and lakes appear flat, not curved. They claim curved water, i.e. around a ball, is impossible without a container. A sphere should show curvature even across large bodies of water, but they say they don't see it. Number 4, there are no real photos of the globe. Flat earthers claim that all images of Earth from space are composites or CGI. NASA and other space agencies are often accused of fabricating data or images. Number 5, flight paths and navigation. They claim that airline routes, especially in the southern hemisphere, make more sense on a flat Earth map. Some routes seem indirect or require strange layovers. They believe airlines are compensating for a flat layout that is being masked by the globe model. Number 6, the Antarctic ice wall. They claim Antarctica is not a continent at the bottom of the globe, but rather a mass massive ice wall encircling flat Earth. This wall allegedly keeps the oceans in and is protected by world governments. Flat Earthers cite restricted access to Antarctica as suspicious. The Antarctica Treaty in 1959 is seen as evidence of a global conspiracy. Number 7. Sun and Moon behaviour. They claim that the Sun and Moon are small, close lights circling above the flat Earth. They point to unusual sunrise-sunset angles and the idea that the Sun doesn't appear to recede in a way consistent with globe geometry. And there you go. Maybe you're convinced now. Let me know down below. And we're now going to finish with this one, another one that I honestly hadn't heard of before. Exploring Mexico's zone of silence, the Bermuda Triangle of the desert. In La Zona del Silencio, or the Zone of Silence, Mexico, compasses are said to spin out of control and radio signals are inexplicably blocked. But are these tall tales true, or are they urban myths? So nestled within the desolate expanse of northern Mexico lies the enigmatic Zone of Silence, a remote desert region home to one of the world's most bizarre focal points for reports of the unexplained, from malfunctioning compasses and silent radios to alleged encounters with otherworldly beings. The Zone of Silence in Mexico is shrouded in a mysterious veil of strange happenings that can't quite be explained. So while the spinning compasses down do nothing more than an abundance of magnetic rock in the area, is the allegation that radios are intermittent due to the fact that the area is simply so remote that signals are hard to come by? Are the supposed visions of tall blonde extraterrestrials a ploy to drum up the tourist trade? Or is the Silent Zone Mexico's answer to the Bermuda Triangle? We try as they might, experts simply don't have all the answers. So, situated near the Bolson de Mabini, a basin that stretches across the states of Durango, Chihuahua and Coahuila, La Zona del Silencio is within the Mabini Biosphere Reserve. The reserve is 342,000 hectare protected area showcasing the unique biodiversity of the Chihuahuan desert region, including over 400 plant species, 200 different species of birds, and dozens of reptiles, amphibians and mammals, including the endangered Bolson tortoise. Millions of years ago, the entire area was an ancient seabed which has resulted in large deposits of sedimentary rocks rich in minerals, including magnetic minerals such as magnetite, which may go some way to explain the region's supposed magnetic anomalies. In addition, the area was hit by no less than 3 meteorites in the 20th century alone, in 1938 and 1954, incredibly both on the same ranch, and in 1969 in the nearby Allende Valley. So the mystery of the Zone of Silence, many of the myths and legends from Central and South America, are hundreds or even thousands of years in the making, passed down from generation to generation, and no doubt embellished with every telling and retelling. Yet despite this, it seems the origin story of the Silent Zone in Mexico is a 20th century creation. One early story linked to the zone appears to have occurred sometime in the 1930s. A local pilot by the name of Francisco Sarabia was said to have been flying over the area when his radio suddenly stopped working and his instruments spun wildly out of control. Despite the story, actual evidence documenting this strange event seems to be thin on the ground. Left to itself, it's likely this solitary story would have been quickly forgotten, but it wasn't alone. Soon more stories of this supposed zone of silence began to appear. In 1966, one of the most famous zone of silence stories emerged. It's said that Mexican oil company Pemex sent a delegation to the area to conduct a feasibility study. The group's leader, Augusto Harry de la Peña, found he was continually encountering issues with radio reception, and in his frustration designated the area the Zone of Silence. This throwaway moniker stirred up some local interest but remained relatively low-key. Yet in 1970, all that was to change, and soon the area made not just national, but international headlines. The Wild Rocket. On July 11th, a US military Athena re-entry test vehicle rocket was launched from the Green River Launch Complex in Utah to gather data on atmospheric re-entry. It was supposed to land near the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico, but for reasons unknown it veered wildly off course and came down in what is now the Mabimi Biosphere Reserve, almost 650 kilometers south of where it was supposed to land. Investigations as to why the rocket veered so far from its intended target concluded that a combination of factors, including a failure in the guidance system, caused the off-course trajectory. The Americans dispatched a team of specialists, equipment and resources to recover the debris and clean up the site. Soon rumours began to circulate that the rocket's malfunction was caused by unusual magnetic fields or other anomalies inherent to the region. These stories added a new layer to the existing legends about the area of silence in Mexico, which already included tales of disrupted radio signals and strange lights in the sky. It was further reported that a group of local men, soneros, hired to guard the crash site while the Americans went about their business, started to talk of bizarre mutated animals and plants, strange lights in the sky, and magnetic rocks, perhaps to attract tourists, or perhaps because they truly believed. So what's really going on in the Zone of Silence? Well, there's a school of thought that says it's nothing to do with magnetic rocks. Instead, it's a far more off-world explanation. Visitors to the area have reportedly seen unexplainable lights dancing on the horizon, and even claimed encounters with tall blonde-haired strangers who were said to offer assistance or ask for water, before vanishing without a trace and leaving no footprints. These enigmatic figures are often described as benevolent aliens. So has E.T. been visiting the area to help out the locals, or is something else going on? So the prevailing theories: meteorites. An unusually high number of meteorites with magnetic materials, such as iron and nickel, have been found in the zone. Some speculate these contribute to disturbances affecting equipment, but no proven link exists between crash meteorites and radio interference. We have atmospheric conditions. Unique atmospheric conditions might affect radio waves in the zone, like fluctuations in the ionosphere or solar activity. Some suggest the rocket malfunctioned due to the zone's properties, or that the crash altered the environment. Yet official reports put the whole thing down to nothing more than unremarkable technical issues. There's a whole host of other theories that attempt to explain the supposed bizarre happenings in the Zone of Silence. Mexico is renowned for some amazing myths and legends, but these seem to be clutching at straws, including the fact that some believe the zone sits on Lee lines, hypothetical energy alignments affecting electronics and organisms. The allure of the unknown, combined with anecdotal reports and local legends, continues to fuel speculation about the Zone of Silence, whether the phenomena are due to geological features and atmospheric conditions, or something more otherworldly. The Silent Zone in Mexico remains a fascinating subject for both scientific study and imaginative exploration. For now at least, the mystery remains unsolved. And that, my friends, is quite enough of some brain-numbing, brain-rotting conspiracy theories. I really did enjoy that though. I just get so much entertainment out of reading them, and that hour truly seemed to fly by, so I really hope you did enjoy it and hopefully you found it relaxing as well as always. I believe the next conspiracy theories video is about Antarctica. Yeah, it's Antarctica, so that'll be in probably like 5 videos time or something, so got that to look forward to next. There's a ton of stuff about what really goes on in Antarctica, so got that to look forward to. But for now, I'll love you and leave you. If you did enjoy this video, please do give it a like and subscribe if you are new. And until the next video, everybody,